Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Altus Millionaire Club Live. In our episode, we interview different people from different industry and see how they accumulating their wealth, where they are in their journey. In my opinion, everybody can bring some value to the table. Today, it's my honor to introduce Jon Chan. He was a CPA, CISA. I will let him to introduce himself with his rich professional background. John?
Hi, thanks, Jing. So my name is Jon Chan, graduated with accounting degree, went the traditional accounting route, worked in corporate, got my CPA, and then moved over to consulting where I decided this is no longer for me. So I just jumped into real estate, doing Burr method long distance, doing some capital partnering, and then eventually landed on private lending, specifically out of self-directed retirement accounts.
That's great. So I structure different questions based on our bold method: bank, ownership, leverage, and discipline. Let's see from each sector or each method what John is doing. For the bank, when I say the bank, it's not traditional brick mortar bank, Chase, Wells Fargo. When I say bank, in our club, we actually try to help people set up their own bank using different one tool is the self-directed Roth account. Put the money in. Another one is IBC, infinite banking concept. Also HELOC or utilizing other people's money. So let's just go with some different questions. With your CPA background, I know you said you're doing the private lending. Do you think how will that help you when you set up your private lending business?
Yeah, a lot of people, even friends of mine, they put their money into CDs because it's simple. It keeps it from just rotting away in the checking account. But for me, I take that and say that there's better options. You can earn higher interest. And as long as you structure everything properly, you'll get your money back. You'll end up making a lot more money. So the way that I use the bank is just say as a comparison. Yes, you can put your money into a CD, but then you can earn double, triple that if you do private lending.
Okay, that's great. So for people, they still have the money in the regular, either traditional or Roth IRA. They haven't self-directed that into the self-directed account.
Yeah.
You mentioned you can do the custodian to help them, correct?
Yeah, so this is what I did with my mom. When I first got started, she had wanted to retire, and by that time, I had accumulated like 25 doors, and was not really enjoying being a landlord, not really enjoying the way that I did it or the property management company that I was working with. So I just looked for a different way, and I had heard about self-directed retirement accounts and didn't really do much about it until that point. So I just did some digging, did some research, found out the different options, and then eventually moved all of her old money into a self-directed and converted her into the bank, essentially making her a private lender because you always hear that banks make the most money with the least amount of work. So that's just the route that I took.
That's great. The mailbox money, right? Make your money to make money. For people who have the self-directed account already, what are your general suggestions for people just doing the private money, go partner with someone like you versus buy the rental property themselves?
That's a really good question. It's a route that I see a lot of people take is where they want to go and they want to buy rental properties in their self-directed. I don't suggest that. Rental property, it's going to complicate a lot of things because when you have a self-directed retirement account, you're responsible for all the reporting. You need to record all the expenses. Everything that comes, all the expenses has to come out of your retirement account. So you have to track all that. And so it becomes a big, in my opinion, a much larger headache than it needs to be for money that you don't really have access to until you're 59 and a half. So I always prefer to either invest in a syndication or do private lending. You really want to spend as little time investing that money as possible because again, like that's not how you make your money today. So yeah, I don't suggest people buy rental properties or buy an active business. It just complicates a lot of things and it can get overwhelming pretty quickly.
I agree, definitely. I also have some properties, but in that property, I'm not a landlord. I'm the private money. We do lease options, so it's contract for deed. Still, the role of that self-direct IRA is a bank, right? So people do pay the rent quote rent, which is equivalent to the mortgage, but they pay directly into the self-directed Roth account or self-directed solo 401k account. So to me, that's instead of doing the active landlording, that kind of setup will probably the best for your self-directed Roth account. As you mentioned, there's a compliance, there's documentation, and you have to do the reporting as well. So being a person accumulate 25 doors, I know you're selling one by one,
Mhm.
gradually in group.
Yeah.
So what's the tipping point you made that decision saying, okay, landlord, I don't really want to own any real estate asset. I just want to come to this side and do the private money lending.
A lot of it has to do with not really knowing what I was doing. So I bought in a bunch of different states, different markets, thinking that was the way to scale, but it really caused a lot more administrative headaches than anything else. And on top of that, I thought property management companies were, I thought that I had good property management, but that wasn't always the case. So I viewed this as being a hard reset where I'm going to sell everything and then I'm going to do it the right way, but really focus on the cash flow more than anything else. And cash flow not from owning rentals because I've learned that's so inconsistent. I think one of the properties I purchased, one of the window units broke 3 months in. And so it costed me $900, which is fine, but that's essentially 3 months of cash flow wiped out. I had another house earlier this year, late last year, that was vacant for about 5 months, and it had cost me about $15,000 to get in new flooring, and then on top of lost rent, I was probably out about $25,000. So I was bleeding cash, and so I was asset rich, cash poor because I was focused so much on this ideal of owning rentals as passive income. But that really shifted. Just owning rentals has really shifted my mindset and my opinion on rentals, where rentals are great. There's a lot of benefits, but cash flow is not one of them. If rentals are really good as like a savings account and to build your wealth, but you still need active income to be able to cover any of these incidentals.
Definitely. It can be a headache, especially when something breaks and when there's a non-paying tenant. I was just sharing with John, this lady, which we have to evict, and it costs thousands of dollars for the company. We'll never recoup that rent.
Right.
Even we have the judgment from the eviction court. So when people do shift their money into self-direct Roth account, when they do the private money lending, what kind of structure do you suggest people do? Just go through the syndication, go into each individual project, or maybe just try to find transactional lending. What kind of suggestion when you talk to those private money lendings?
Yeah, so I really suggest either doing individual transactions, not transactional lending, or limited partnership. And the reason, like an LP on a syndication, I avoid the syndication for right now just because you're banking on the operator. And unless you really know how to evaluate your operator and the asset itself, which is typically a pretty complex project, you're not going to be able to really make a good decision. You're trusting on knowing what you know and not really understanding what you don't know. The transactional funding, I've done about 6 of those, never got paid out, never made any money on it, and it was a lot of work. It's a lot of, like, headaches and work. So, transactional funding is great, but not something I would suggest doing with the self-directed. With self-directed, I typically lean towards lending, and I do it on a transaction by transaction basis, meaning I'm not investing into a fund. Not saying that that's the wrong way to approach it, but for me, I personally just like getting on the security documents for a particular property. The way that we structure ours is if I were to bring in a lending partner who's using a self-directed, their names are on the security documents. They're the ones that have the lien. So if anything were to happen, they can easily come in and foreclose. Now, we manage all of that, so they never
Yes.
have to. But if anything were to happen to myself or my team, then they have recourse. They can easily just go and get that property back. And because the way that we structure them, make their money back, if not make a little bit more. In my opinion, it might not be for everyone, but I prefer to go the transaction by transaction route.
It's pretty safe. You have a lot
Yeah.
of control compared to either transactional lending or the LPGP deal. What's the typical time frame for people if they have a chunk of money to invest? Are you
So,
doing
th-
5 year, 12 months, 24 months?
so we typically do 6 months, and we can actually get money rolling next day if the person really wanted to. But our terms are typically 6 months with a 6 month extension. And there's a lot of flexibility with that too. I think we haven't had anybody do this, but we have the ability, like, we have our partners have the liquidity to come in and pay someone out if they want to get their money out earlier. But I mean, in terms of average, we're looking at 6 months.
Oh, that's nice. So every 6 months, as a private money lender, they will know that you will come once the 6 months matures. You will talk to them and then you'll help them to find the next project to fund, like project per project base.
Yeah, of course. So the money goes as a private money lender, money always has to go through title. So money goes to title. They do the borrower does their thing. The money goes back to title and then back to the individual. And then you just rinse and repeat.
I know you have been very successful, right? Being a CPA, you're liquidating some of the 25 rentals. Right now,
Mhm.
you are doing the custodian private money lending. Can you share some of the discipline you are doing on daily basis? What drives you every day? How you structure your day? How you structure your year? Do the yearly planning? Anything you want to share with other not yet successful, soon to be successful people?
Yeah, so the discipline, there are a lot of things that I'm still working on, planning out my day. I think someone I spoke to said they plan out their day by in 15 to 30-minute increments. I'm not at that point. I'm pretty much do what you need to do. But one habit that I have started about about a year ago is waking up before 6 o'clock. So I wake up between 4:30 and 6. And before I would come down and I would just start working. But about a month ago, a little less than a month ago, I ran a Disney half marathon, and
Oh,
I hated running. I hated distance running, not anything that I enjoyed, but just doing that has changed who I am. So now when I wake up, instead of going to my computer and getting work done, the first thing I do is I go and I exercise, whether that's like lifting or kettlebells, and then I'll go out for a mile to 2 mile run every single day. And that's just been part of my schedule for the past like 3 weeks.
that's the successful routine, right? Successful entrepreneur routine to wake up like super early, 4:30, 5:30, and then go to the gym to work out, make really energetic, and then go through the day. And next day, you repeat the whole thing.
Yeah, it really helps with the stress too. And now when I take my daughters to their jujitsu or the gymnastics or whatever, I don't feel guilty when I'm sitting there because I've already done everything I needed to do.
And it's super important to do that early in the morning so you can get that down before you start your busy day. Everybody is so busy right now with day to day
Yeah.
obligations and meetings and everything. Let me ask you, I know you also have a school community, right? For what you are doing, you also doing a lot of teaching and education. Talk a little bit about the school community you have.
Thank you for bringing that up. So the school community I put together, at first it was just for self-directed retirement accounts. But then as I've been out of the W-2 world for about a year and a half now, and I've learned a lot of lessons, have gone through a lot of growth, progression. It hasn't all been easy. In fact, I would say it's probably been one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. And the school community really is geared towards helping people get educated who are interested about self-directed, but also be like a support, a way to get support and share wins and just share experiences and lessons that we've learned, personal growth that we are having to go through as we navigate this for people that have been in the corporate world and are now making that transition.
Okay, that's good. What's the name of your school community? We'll definitely put a link in the description as well.
Yeah, it's a self-directed network.
Okay. So if you're in the school community, search for that and then find Jon Chan. You can find his school link. Join and then make that school community as one of the go-to place because we all know being an entrepreneur can be a lonely process. You really want some sounding board or a group of people you can rely to, you can talk to, you can network with and share your wins and sometimes the struggles as well. So, any final word you want to share with us? I'm sure you want to raise awareness of how good the self-directed Roth account is. Do you want to share something about the solo 401k
Well,
specifically?
solo 401k is great. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine and I were just talking about self-directeds in general. And one of the things that I had learned when I was looking at my parents' plan documents was that the fees that are getting charged to traditional retirement accounts is based on the account balance. So whether you make money or you lose money, doesn't matter. You're still paying that fee and it adjusts, right? But then the shocking part of what we found out was that the products that your retirement account has access to are available outside of your retirement account as well. The only difference is that the products that are within your retirement account have higher management fees than if you were to go out and buy those same products with an E-Trade account. If you have old retirement accounts, it's not being managed and you're getting crushed by fees. So just be aware of what is it you're doing and pull it out, put it into something where it doesn't have to be real estate. It could be oil and gas, crypto, if you know how to evaluate these things, right? So there's a lot more options available to you that they just don't tell you about.
Definitely, that's true. There's a lot of education for all our audience to really learn that first, right? That's your money. That's what I always tell my client. That's
Yeah.
your money, and you should take 100% control with the
Mm.
asset under management. When your account tank 40%, that 1% management fee will still go to their pocket.
Yeah.
That could be another 1% on top of what you're losing in the stock market. So what if people want to contact you other than the school community, will you share some other website or any ways people can contact you?
Yeah. So the best ways I have all the socials, I think all the ones that I know. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and it's all the same username. It's JonChanrei. So contact me on one of those platforms. Happy to share. I have a lot of PDFs and worksheets that I've created. One that talks about all the security documents that you should have when doing a private money loan, a self-directed retirement account custodian evaluator. So what questions to ask, what to know about the timelines for funding, the services they provide, the customer service that they have available to you, because most of them don't have very good customer service. And then also understanding the rules and regulations around what you can and cannot do with that money, as well as the requirements for reporting and just keeping good records. I have a lot that I want to just give away and share with people. Yeah, reach out to me on any one of those platforms.
Definitely. I'm sure people will reach out to you. We'll definitely put all the social handles and the link underneath this description. And then with that said, we will end this Altus Millionaire Club live. And I really appreciate you take some time to talk to us and share the expertise you have. Thank you so much, John. Appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Okay, bye
care.
bye.